Okay, my parts just arrived from Hayseed Hamfest, so we'll open that up and see what we got and maybe get to work. Well, isn't that pretty? Okay, so there's a capacitor kit, a terminal strip, some even included some solder braid for desoldering. Very good, very nice. And the resistor pack, which was extra, but while I'm at it, might as well do it right. Okay, while the soldering iron's heating up, a little tip if somebody tries to do this. See the nice little markings on this Hayseed capacitor. Triangle at the top, oblong, square, or whatever on the left. The thing is, on the old part, there's no markings that I can read. So, and I put that little black mark at the bottom so that I would get the orientation correctly when I plug this in back into the radio chassis. You could easily get this thing turned around and have the wrong values in the wrong place. And the only way I could determine for sure was to trace against the schematic, which I have over here on the screen. So therefore, if you're doing this change, that's just something to be very aware of, and make sure you get this thing in the correct way. So now we have all the fun of cleaning up, taking this rat's nest apart and putting in the new one. Okay, those are the parts out of the HW16, and we've got back to the rat's nest of hookup here, and we're going to bring it up on the Variac, set the camera up in case we get any sparks that make for an interesting video. The unit come up. There's no sparks, no smoke. We're at 125 volts AC, and it claims that we're getting around 600 to 6.25. A little bit lower than what they said we should be getting, but that should be sufficient for the thing to operate. But there's no sound, and we'll let you know what we find. All right, I took this tube back out. I cleaned the prongs very carefully with an X-Acto knife, just scraped the surface. Then I cleaned it with deoxit. Then I put some deoxit into the tube socket itself. And finally, I spread very carefully, ever so slightly, using the eraser end of a pencil. I spread the prongs from the tube out just so slightly. You got to be very careful. I think I saved a tube. Previously to this, I had resoldered underneath here and so forth. But it goes to show you, when the radios are this old, you have to look for obvious poor connections, even on the tube sockets. So hopefully, I'm going to let it cool off overnight, see what happens tomorrow, and then we'll check out the transmitter once more and maybe go through some alignment. Anyway, see you in the morning. Well, it's the next day, actually in the afternoon. We have some lightning in the area, so I don't know whether I'll be hooking an antenna up or not, but I'm going to power up and see if that connection still holds. Alright, after 30 minutes of CQing, that's the coverage I've got from the Reverse Beacon Network. No one's called me back. As you can see, it's just turning dark here in Central Florida. So we're very happy with our 40 watts now. The Hayseed Hamfest capacitors and resistors added 10 watts to the output, about 200 volts to the the largest high voltage you're supposed to get. Still a little low, but I'm not sure, because according to my research on the internet, this rig is only supposed to put out a maximum of 40 or 50 watts output. So that's the score on that. The next step is to kind of do the realignment. I'm off about 10 kc on the receive, and I use the expensive rig as a spotter, and I'm running a rock at the moment. Stay tuned. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up. I just made a contact from here in Central Florida to Hendersonville, North Carolina with the rig. So I'm going to call it done, although there's some other minor things I'm going to have to look into. But it works. It's a time machine. It took some skill with your ears to pick one signal out with this, even though it has a crystal filter. You hear more than one. If there's somebody a couple kc away, you're going to hear them. What else? The Hayseed Hamfest capacitors and resistors brought me up from 30 watts to 40 watts. Almost 45 if I'm very careful on my tuning. So even though the capacitors that I removed, the old ones, still checked good with a ohm meter, they were failing, no question about it. No surprise there. And what else? One little hint: if trying to thinking about, if you're thinking about getting involved in maybe Heathkit equipment, at least on this one, there's one thing you need to know about, and if I can find it. Alright, this is a tuning tool that I had to modify in order to do the adjustments for the receiver and the transmitter. Reason being, this shaft area was too big to fit inside the coils. Now this end here wasn't exact, but it had some slop to it, but it was close enough it would move the coil. I had to take an X-Acto knife and shave this neck down in order to be able to use it. You look online, they want anywhere from 17 bucks up for one of these, or a replacement for one of these. It's kind of apparently an oddball. and you're going to need one, at least on this rig. So just be aware of that, and if you've got some other information, I'd be glad to hear it in the comments, because it drove me half nuts until I finally figured out a way to do it. The other thing that you're welcome to comment on, if you have any idea, I was chasing my tail trying to get 700 volts on the high B plus, and then in the manual, in the actual manual, it says 600 volts. So I ended up with 630 after I replaced the capacitors. I've got the amount of output you're supposed to have, so I assume that's correct. Don't ask me why there's 700 written on the schematic. Now it's an online schematic, but it looks like it was printed that way. Anyway, if you run across one of these radios, this is a nostalgic thing for me. The first time I ever copied any Morse code that made any sense was on one of these, and I didn't use it very long and sold it, but technically it's my first rig. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope the information is of some value to some of you, and let's keep the old rigs glowing in the dark. 7-3.